Shabbat Shalom. So my sister Sarah had a baby this past weekend. Wednesday, actually, yeah. Both of them are happy and healthy, thank God. It's a little surreal to even say these words out loud because we've been looking forward to it for such a long time. But last Wednesday, it finally happened. And then I got to call my niece, Deborah, for the first time in the first few hours of her life, although it was through a little phone screen. I wish I could have been there in person for all the moments. The nervous car ride to the hospital, which I imagine is always like an episode of I Love Lucy, right? Is it always that way? The hours in the waiting room with my parents as we would pass around vending machine snacks, and of course the chance to hold the little Bubba for the first time when she's still scrunched up like she was in the womb. I missed those moments as I feared I would, living so far away. And with a big job here that I love, I just expected that it would probably happen. So these past few months leading up to the birth, I developed quite a case of FOMO. Do you all know what that stands for? Fear of missing out. And when the reality of my missing out cut most deeply, I asked myself a hard question. Is this missing out just about loss? Or is there a positive frame for missing out? Is there a way to think about this differently? A friend helped. As a balm for my growing FOMO, she recommended a book called 4,000 Weeks. The British journalist Oliver Burkeman opens a bit indelicately. He starts by writing, "The average human lifespan is absurdly, terrifyingly, insultingly short." He calculates that even in a long life of 90 years, we'd have only about 4,700 weeks for everything. And actually, I officiated at a funeral yesterday for a man who was 100. And so you can all do the math for me on where we get. But it's still only a few thousand weeks, terrifyingly few. Berkman continues, "It's painful to confront how limited your time is because it means that tough choices are inevitable and that you won't have time for all you once dreamed you might do. You just won't." In other words, our short lifespan of a few thousand weeks, if we're lucky, means that missing out is inevitable. So again, what can we do to reframe this missing out? Wrong answers first. We cannot try to optimize everything. It's quite tempting to do that. But we cannot try to optimize everything and try to almost deny the question. Berkman cautions, he's taking on now the entire time management productivity literature. He says, productivity is a trap. The day will never arrive when you finally have everything under control. When the flood of emails has been contained, when your to-do lists have stopped getting longer, when you're meeting all your obligations at work and in your home life, when nobody's angry with you for missing a deadline or dropping the ball, and when the fully optimized person you've become can, at long last, turn to the things life is really supposed to be about. None of this is ever going to happen. Next, I want to share some research by actually a law professor of mine in another life who made federal income taxation miraculously fun. His name's Daniel Markovitz. Really, it's not sarcasm. He really made it fun. And in his research, he shows I'm gonna take a risk here because maybe this might hit home a little too intensely for this community, but I think we can take it. He argues that even the winners in our achievement-obsessed culture, the ones who make it to the elite universities and the ones who reap the highest salaries, find that their reward is the unending pressure to work with crushing intensity in order to maintain the income and status that have come to seem like prerequisites for the lives they want to lead. In so many words, Markovits is also warning that the response to our fear of missing out should not be to work harder, to plan better, or to somehow figure out how to be everywhere at once. We simply cannot optimize everything. Instead, we have to learn to let go of this fantasy that if we were to just make all the right choices and in the right order, that we could get everything we want out of our few thousand weeks on this earth. There is, in fact, no life path that avoids missing out. But can we live another way? Could we even find something like joy in missing out? If we could truly accept the fact of our too limited lifespans, then maybe we could be a little less afraid of missing out. It's happening anyway. If we could truly accept our inability to optimize everything, maybe we could be more intentional with the choices we do have about how we spend our time. We are, after all, descended from ancestors who they already knew all of this deeply. The blessings of modern life have teased us with the promise of being able to do it all. But the truth is, there was no FOMO or work-life balance or time management in the desert. No one thought they could do it all in one life. In the Torah, our ancestors had to make choices that would be staggering to us today. In our parsha this week, Rebekah meets a man at a well and offers to water his camels. And it turns out he's come to find a wife for his master's son, and he decides right away that she's the right person. He introduces himself, he brings gifts to her family. He comes on pretty strong, pressuring them for a quick answer to his offer. They ask for 10 days to consider, which is itself a timeline so abbreviated, given the customs of betrothal, that Rashi, who's a later medieval commentator, Rashi thinks actually they didn't ask for 10 days, they asked for 10 months, because 10 days was so kind of ridiculous. Whether it was 10 days or 10 months, we can imagine the elders huffing and puffing and strategizing and stressing over this decision that will define Rebekah's life. The servant nudges more forcefully. He can't even wait the 10 days. And so still without consensus, the Midrash tells us that they couldn't decide, and so everyone turns to her. Let us call the girl and ask for her reply. And so they call Rebekah, and they ask, "Will you go with this man?" And she says, "I will." In one word, in the Hebrew, elech, I will. She chooses the course of her life with all the blessings and burdens that would come along the way. She has no time, absolutely no time, to analyze her choice. She barely has the chance to say goodbye to her family or to mourn what she will miss. Her parents growing older, her siblings building their families, maybe her homeland changing while she's gone. But 3 verses later, she and her maids stand up, climb onto their camels, and go. She seems almost exuberant about the choice. If Rebecca fears missing out, she is certainly not paralyzed by it. Maybe in her own way, Rebecca learns to accept what we all must, that missing out is part of our finite human lives. We cannot walk every path, and if we could, our choices would be less meaningful ones. It wouldn't really be choices. So what if instead of fearing the pain of missing out, we relished the joy of missing out? What if, when we feel torn between all the myriad ways to spend our 4,000 or so weeks, alongside our anxiety and sense of loss, we also tried to muster up some gratitude, some hakarat hatov, in this week before Thanksgiving? I am sad that I missed my sister giving birth. And I am thrilled that the moment I missed was such a happy one. It isn't always. Thank God she's healthy and safe, and her baby is healthy and safe. And thank God that I have the honor to be here with all of you and to celebrate Shabbat and to celebrate Paz's bat mitzvah and to work as a rabbi leading our community. I'm grateful that my sister has excellent medical care and that she's surrounded by our loving family. And for the modern miracles of travel that allow me to be there, God willing, in just a few weeks in order to perform the baby naming. That missing out feeling reminds me of my love for her. And so I'm grateful for it too. I wish for all of us some of Rebecca's acceptance and courage so that we can learn to face our however many thousand weeks more empowered and more grateful. And so that despite our FOMO, we also ever feel the joy of missing out. Shabbat Shalom. Baruch Tia.